to the Influence Factory podcast. This program is dedicated to support professionals who have a desire to develop their digital business influence so they can navigate through a fast-paced, constantly growing digital world. We invite newcomers as well as our family of business influencers to a place to play, share ideas, questions, tips, and guidance with other thought leaders around the globe. Sit back and enjoy our program with our host Dean Delisle as he interviews guests. News and commentary is provided by Kate Hassett and Jackson Delisle. Power Move lessons are provided by the Influencer Marketing Department at Social Jack. And production, editing, and distribution is provided by the Social Jack production team.
This week's influencer guest, Tom Harness, is known as the outside-the-box brander, crazy suit guide, a Craftbeerican, I didn't even know that was a word, bowler hat wearing guy, and owner of Harness Digital Media. Been in business for over 5 years, rocking content out for his clients. So give a big welcome and applause to our friend, Tom Harness. Tom, there he is.
Hold on a second. I'm working on making my LinkedIn profile poppin'. Give me just a second. I'm making it poppin'. Okay. Oh, I like the sound effects. That was great.
Dude, I thought you were going to wear one of your crazy suits. What the heck?
I'm sorry. When you guys were talking about LinkedIn and making sure profile photos, at the last minute, I decided this summer I was done with my beard. So I was like, oh, but you'd already posted. And I'm like, that's one of my pet peeves. The profile photos need to match the person. So when they make those connections when they're out, and I was like, oh, well, we're going to go with it and use it as a teachable moment. So when you shave or change your image, update your images to match
the color of your hair, like Tom and I do from time to time.
We do. We color it.
I color it with sunshine.
I don't know exactly. I get color this part, just this part.
It looks great. How you doing, man?
I've been great. I've been trying to keep up with you. Things have been busy here, but I really appreciated getting the opportunity to spend some time with you and meet you at MDMC this year. And it was fun.
Yeah, that was a hoot, man. And it was good to spend time with you on the panel and then finally getting to meet in person. And I've got to tell you, we voted you in our company meeting last week. Like,
oh God,
no. In the Business Influencer Alliance, you're like the influencer of the year so far. You participate, you contribute, and you do that in the world too. So before we get to that though. What's the Craftbeerican? What is that?
Okay, so the Craftbeericans are a group of other media people.
It's a legit club?
It's a group. It's a group. Okay, it's Kevin Huntsberger, who is a morning newscaster. That's my best friend, and he's actually retiring from that tomorrow. We've got Todd Brinkley, who is a home brewer. We've got Todd Bryant, who is a morning radio news person. And then we have Todd Ellis, who is a videographer. And we just all kind of decided to get together, talk about marketing. We don't really collaborate too much together. It's just kind of get together. We all like craft beer. We talk about it. Then we made it into a Facebook page, and we do Facebook Live shows on it. And we started out, this was my brilliant idea. I think it was like 4 years ago, though. We decided to do 99 episodes, right? We start with episode 99 and we go down. Wow. We are now on, after 3 or 4 years, 11. So it's taken us that long. The goal was to do a season every year.
Is that the Spinal Tap episode? I think you should name it after Spinal Tap.
I think so.
The show really goes to 11.
It's done. It's done. So we always have to explain. So we started out with 99 and we're gonna end with 1. But we all like craft beer.
Are you gonna end it then?
With the time commitment that we have now, yes. And we'll probably redistribute some content. And honestly, we probably could have taken it into a small business model. We had a lot of other breweries and other bottles, but we did, when you make something a business, it's no longer fun. It's not a hobby. And we wanted it to be a hobby. Drinking should be a hobby.
Yeah. Well, and I think hobbies should be a hobby too, and not all work. So.
Oh, yes, I agree.
So how did you come to, I know you and I talked about this, but for the people listening, how did you come to really getting to the crazy suits and the bowler hat? Did those happen together, or is that
I have to admit, some of the branding I got really lucky with. And some of it defies odds because you really should be kind of known for that one thing. But I've got specific demographics that I connect with, and I've been able to figure out how to do that. And I'm got to tell you, there's no formula. I've just been very lucky. But the ugly Christmas, or the suits, started out four years ago when I was kind of going through a funk at Christmas time. And I'm Catholic. I like the Christmas Mass. I like all that good stuff. And it just didn't feel like Christmas. And I remember being a kid, being playful and being fun. And I'm like, why isn't I'm 40, 42, whatever it was back then. I'm like, why can't it be that way again? And I'm laying in bed, and you and I both suffer from insomnia, and I'm underneath the covers so I don't bother my wife, and I'm looking at Facebook and looking at content, getting ideas. This ad from this company called Sonixphere popped up, and it was a Christmas suit, and they called them ugly Christmas suits. And I was like, I don't know, it was an epiphany. And at that point, you have to know, Dean, my character there was nothing about me being outspoken. I was very withdrawn. And something came over me, and I'm like, I'm going to buy this Christmas suit and spread Christmas cheer. That's as simple as that. I bought the suit. I told my family. They thought I was crazy, my wife and daughter. And I started wearing it to work, and people noticed, and people wanted to start kind of getting photos at Christmas time. And someone had mentioned, and I wish I could remember who it was. I really do. They mentioned that I should turn it into a fundraiser if I'm going to get donations. And I love giving back to my community. So that's always been something that I'm passionate about. So I created the Ugly Christmas Suit fundraiser. And over the last 4 years, I wear a Christmas suit, starting at Giving Tuesday. I wear it every day, except for church. I don't wear it to church until whatever our target goal is to raise is raised. So if it's 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, I wear it until the money is raised. So I figured if people got annoyed with me enough, that would be another motivation for them to donate. And I always choose charities that are a little unknown, have no marketing, no real social media presence, because part of what I do is I go in and help educate them on how to use and leverage social media for that. So that was kind of the goal. And then 4 suits, and then they obviously have other suits, and it turned into a branding component. And people expected it, and they loved it. And you know what? The coolest part about when you find your niche with branding is you don't feel like you have to do it. It's just a part of you. And
Right.
you're not forcing it. It's not like, oh, I got to go wear a suit today, or, it's just fun. And then I find there's holidays for everything. So I decided to relive a little bit of glory from MDMC, and I wore the Mario one. So
that was one of my favorite ones. And I want to mention real quick, because, I had remembered, and then it was in the notes here about you being a U.S. Army veteran. And I have a whole family that represents all 4 branches, which is interesting when you get people together, how that works. But family picnic get really competitive, when you have branches of the military. And so one of the things that struck me is that you had some suits that represented the military. And did you make those? Because those look pretty badass. It was like you had red, white, and blue, and then you had patches on there. So how did that come about?
So
thank you for serving, by the way.
You're welcome. And honestly, it was an honor to serve my country, and your family. Thank them too, because it means a lot to me. That's the one thing that hits me in my heart. I'm pretty much 100% guy with no emotion, but when it comes to anything veteran related, I'm a baby. Yeah. But the suit I bought, again, through the same the Oppo suits and Sonixphere, and then I had a bunch of veterans organizations start to give me some patches, and I decided to put it on. And then I went on the first 2 honor flights here in Southern Illinois. And when we flew out, I got a couple of patches from some of the people that I went on the trip with. And then I lost some family members that were in the Army last year. And I decided I wanted to take them with me and honor them too, and draw attention to veterans in a different way, in a positive way. So I wear that suit probably the most, and it's probably my happiest. But there's the big red one for my stepdad who passed away, and another father figure, Mike Gabe, who passed away. I've got a CB one on there that was from Bill Logan, who was served as a CB during the Korean War. And then I have my dad that raised me, LB. He was a Navy guy, so I have his on there.
Cool.
And then I've got some other organizations like Disabled Vet, and I just put them on, and I've kind of just added a little bit, and then I put my patch on. Yes. Funny story, real quick. I was sitting in California at a veteran-owned brewery, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, I'm a disabled vet. I suffer, and I wanna make you a patch, and I want you to put it on your suit." So I gave him my patch. He made it. I put it on, and we've connected on Instagram, and we've stayed connected on there for forever. But he made my company patch, which I call the Thunder Chicken. It's the Thunderbirds, but we joked about it and called it Thunder Chickens. But it was a great opportunity, and it was amazing to have social media, especially Instagram, to be able to stay in touch with him.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, let's before we jump to social media and some marketing cool stuff, and sort of how you got here to this point. Cubs fan or St. Louis? You're living in St. Louis, but are you?
Well, I live in Illinois. I live in Southern Illinois.
That's right.
I live in Southern Illinois. But everything, we really have to go there. But 100,000% Chicago Cubs fan until the day I die.
That's great. Awesome, man. So tell me a little bit. How did you? What did you transition from? Like, was it directly from the service into marketing, or how'd you decide it was like, hey, I can help people with this marketing?
I pretty much stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. No,
that's all it takes sometimes.
That's all it takes. No, when I got out of the military, I ended up going into education. I taught fifth grade for 6 years. I taught kindergarten through eighth grade technology classes for 3. I taught 3 semesters at SIU. And then education in Illinois was kind of just taking a really weird turn. And honestly, I think I was on a path to get educated and learn a little bit to build up to the next level. I was a chief information officer at a local winery and destination center for 2.5 years. And my wife really encouraged me to kind of do my own consulting and do something. I took some time off, and thank God, because she let me. And this opportunity with social media came up, and someone said, "Hey, I've got some clients that want to do social media." And me being a very methodical military person, I said, "Well, let me look into it." And I researched and business model and went to the SBDC and set up everything. And I said, "You know what? I think I'm going to do this." And that was 5-6 years ago. So that's opportunity. And then I truly embraced the business, and I truly embraced the digital marketing aspect once I embraced who I was and my suits and the branding. And it's incredibly scary to put yourself out there. Yeah. And I figured, my wife always said you're an all or nothing person. So I said, I better just jump right in. And I did it, and it's worked. And obviously it comes with its own pluses and downsides. But you know what? At the end of the day, I try to make a difference, not only for our clients, my team, but our community.
Yeah, it's interesting. Whenever I talk to people, and if you think about our lifetime, I've been in marketing / sales capacity for probably at least 30 years, and it's had a ton of evolutions. But when social came along, what was your first job? I wanted to ask that.
Okay, so my very first job was at groceries. I packed groceries and stocked shelves in South Dakota, because that's where I was born. I was born in Spearfish, South Dakota, and I was living in Rapid City. So that was my very first job.
Yeah. So I was bussing tables in hospitality, and you remember that story. And so I just learned how to network and how to connect to people, like at a super early age, thanks to my dad too. And so what's funny is I'm always curious why, when social came out, it was like, I can do that, because you said, I'm going to give this a try, or I'm going to do this. And it's like, nobody knew what this was when they decided to do this, but it was like, there was something that drew them to it. What drew you to social media in the first place?
I think because it was the polar opposite of who I was.
Ah, that's awesome, dude.
I really do. I think something inside me knew that I needed to do this in order to get out of my shell to become who I needed to be or who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do half the things I do in the community and the things if I was, I don't like to say old Tom. I just, I was the typical, almost borderline kind of programmer. I had some, technology background. I mean, I'd go home. I like to sit in the dark.
What language?
Oh, back then was just DOS and a little bit of Java, but I don't, and that was it.
I was COBOL,
I know that.
Basic assembler language, RPG, and Fortran.
Fortran's okay. Now you're really dating yourself. You need to stop that. Stop right there.
RPG, I think too, right?
Yeah, but Fortran for sure. Fortran.
Well, basic assembler language. I still can't find anybody that does that.
If you know what, you're probably a hot commodity if you can still do that, because there's probably not a lot of people, and there's probably one machine that's running
needs some love.
That needs some love.
And hopefully it's not running the government.
Oh, no, it is. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's probably,
it'll be that knock on the door in the middle of the night. Mr. Blau, we need you to come with us.
That would be great.
We need some Fortran and basic assembler help. Isn't that funny? I was, man, we never talked about this, but I was one of the fastest coders, and I learned a bunch of languages, and I was just a natural at coding. And like you, I'd go and I'd just be pounding out. I was like a master at subroutines and all kinds of different levels of code. And I just like loved it, and I picked up on it. But then I realized I was so fast, I was a highly social person as well. So I was very logical. Like I had both sides of this brain going on, fighting each other. And so, or two personalities, as my wife would say. And so, but then I would be like, I got to get back to the people. So I'm going to write this code really fast. And then I became fast at writing code so I could get to the people. And then you had it to sort of serve that part of you that you were hungry to be. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And your wife and my wife should not get together and compare notes then, because it sounds like there's a lot of comparisons there. We don't need to do that.
Right. Oh man. So social media, okay, so you've been in it for a little bit now, and you see where it's going, you see where it's at. What's your viewpoint on how it serves us today?
I've had a lot of really soul searching on that. And sometimes I feel like, am I providing a service that is enhancing the business, making the world a better place? And there's mixed answers there. That's why it's hard for me. But I think I have a real good friend that he's kind of a mentor, Russ Williams, and we talk about intent, people's intentions. And it's sometimes only that person knows what their intentions are. And I think for me, the intention is to help model, and that's probably the educator, the teacher, me, model these businesses, small businesses, medium size, to be very ethical and to have something in place to contribute. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, they want return on investment and they want all that and they want branding. But what they really want to create is a social community that goes to bat for them when there is a problem. Because customer service isn't just doing what you're supposed to do for the customers. It's what you do when things go bad and when they go wrong. And that's what people really want to know. And anymore, it's not people talking about you or your business at the water cooler. They're going straight on social media and they're, leaving reviews and talking and communicating. And I think what I hope that my team and I do is that we give them the sense of responsibility and the importance, because there's still people in the Midwest that think that social media is a fad and it's they don't need it, and they're being so far left behind, and it's sad. And then they're asking those questions. What did I do for my business? What can I do for my business? Well, I'm sorry, you're being forced into it now.
Well, that, or they're in complete denial. I mean, the thing that drives me nuts is when people are like, well, it's just not working, or it doesn't work. And it's like, well, what part of it doesn't work? We're building a community around your business. It's no different than the old fashioned, let's grow our list and send newsletters, right?
Absolutely.
And so now it's like, but you need to tend to the community. And so, we do a real job. Kate's team does a really good job at tending to that community, on all sides. And so what I'm always fascinated by is this whole discussion about ROI and people not seeing the value in, the hard work of generating the content and building the community and being thought leaders out in the world, which is what drove me to, just pump the book out, because I've been talking about this for over 20 years now, and I'm tired of, so I was like, I got to put it in a book so people might listen to me now. So
Yeah, it's hard when you know what your value is and translating that to other people. One of the things that we did early on was we set, like you do, we set goals with them. And the other thing that social media does that people forget is it's working 24/7, 365 forever. And people interact at different times and different intervals. So, I mean, especially on Twitter, I'll still have something from 2 or 3 years ago that someone just came across and they liked or they tweeted, and I'm like, I don't even remember that.
right.
Yeah, but they do. There's just so much that comes with social media for business, and it's not just them clicking a link or going somewhere. There's so much of a chain reaction for the content, and it gets reused and repurposed, and it's not just one and done. That's what I love about it. And you have numbers, you have data. That's so important for me to be able to physically show that. So
I got to ask you this. Maybe you can help us through this conversation too. There's a lot of people that did you just give someone the finger?
No, that someone just walked in. And I wanted to tell them I was a little bit, so it's all good.
No, I'm just teasing. That's what I always say when people. I go, "Oh, I'm number one."
You are, and so are they.
But with the fact is, sometimes we'll still have our traditional companies, because we deal a lot in banks and accounting firms and law firms and financial advisory. I'm a glutton for punishment. They're a little slow moving and to understand things, but we really care about them and want them to be successful. And they're still wrapped in this. Well, we want more followers. Especially on LinkedIn, we know how hard that was over the last 5 years. But the idea is, we want more followers, And we're like, what about engagement? Can't we count engagement? And some people are still not getting that. What do you tell them?
It's a combination. We focus on not only reach, engagement, and followers, and obviously they play off of each other.
Right.
The more followers that you have, the more chance you have for engagement. Obviously, hopefully, the more reach you get. You're gonna, organically, you're gonna get about 10 to 20% on Facebook. Anything over that, you're doing really good with your content. But being consistent, education. I mean, just going into my teacher mode, and it has to be their idea. It has to be, now, but the problem is, and I know you know this too in your team, when they decide that, sometimes it's too late in their field and their competition, because so many people have a drop on it online. And there is a sense of urgency. But I think that you also, it's a relationship. So they have to fit. We're not a good fit for all of potential clients. We are very outside the box. We make people nervous, but it's that's what you have to have anymore. Content can't just be content. It's like everything else. It becomes mundane, and that's why you have to think outside the box and come up with creative ideas once or twice a month for your companies. And I think getting them excited. And what I also like, Dean, is if you do it right and you get them excited about social media or digital marketing, they fall back in love with their business. They see their business a way they never saw it before. And they fight, because let's be honest, being a business owner isn't fun 24/7. And I mean, I'm hoping someday when it wears off for me, that someone rejuvenates me and there's something new. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great. But I think that's what you do for your clients. And I know that's what we do for ours, is we give them that way to look and rejuvenate and see opportunities and potentials they didn't see before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure you do this too, because you're an educator like myself, and both my parents were teachers, and I think it was just in my blood to teach and to develop courses, because it's like an insane passion of mine. But the idea is, I think as much as we teach, it's always interesting to find out how much people grasp. I'll have people that have been attending my webinars for a decade. They've attended like 30 sessions, and I'll be like, what are you doing? It's not like I really want you to write me a check, but I want you to write me a check or do something. Look, I'm looking online and you're watching and listening, and why aren't you doing anything? And it's I think that's probably the most frustrating part. And the fact that in our business, we we stay up late, we work early, we fight to find out that next nugget or thing because the stuff's changing all the time. And so I sort of know how we keep up on it, but how do you keep up on all of it?
Team. I keep up with my team, and I listen. When I go out and in the community, when I go out and people ask questions or they come in, like today when I did my weekly Harness Your Hump Day, this week I had 3 people ask me about chatbots. So that's what I talked about today, and gave some overview on chatbots. And you listen, you slow. Sometimes we go so fast, and I'm guilty of this too. We go a million miles a minute, that we do need to slow down and listen and see. And that's how I listen, read. I read a ton. I know you do too. Lots of blog articles. I test podcasts too. But honestly, I like to listen to my team, and they have great ideas. We have a part-time and an intern this summer, and he's bringing a lot of energy and a lot of new ideas, and I love it. I mean, that's what's great about having people like that come in your business. But I don't know everything, but I try to keep up. And the thing is, I try to be authentic too, and I don't pretend to know everything. If I don't, I research it, and I let people know I'll research it, and I let them know my honest opinion. But that's how I keep up with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, but I think the fact that we continue to teach in this realm just forces us to stay on our toes. And to your point, Kate and her team do a great job, as well as Jackson and his team, about making sure that we're learning and teaching and producing and helping others. Let's talk about user generated content real quick. So you're dealing in the content space pretty heavily, like we are. What are you seeing, and what do you see working, and what do you see that people need to do more of?
Oh man. Well, I mean, it's redundant. They say this every year, but video, video, doing captioning, which is something that we don't do a lot. And I think there's a misconception too that you have to have the overly produced video. I think that works really well sometimes, but let's just go to YouTube and see how many unicorn, cat, rainbow videos there are, and how low quality that is. So, it's again, finding that content that's short, sweet, to the point, and getting it connected. And then the other thing that we see with content is just getting it distributed. Specifically, and we don't completely work with Facebook, but we work with other platforms. But the groups, finding groups that you can redistribute content in is going to be huge. And there's a lot of a human element to this. As much as you can have automation that's why you have a team. That's why you hire people like your business and mine to do that for businesses. And it's not, if people want automation, they are completely losing their money. There's a certain amount, like when I talked about chat bots, that you can do, but there's nothing like true, authentic interaction. And that's like, for us, they write content a week or 2 out, and then we go back and monitor and review. And we're not cookie cutter, and that's how we sell ourselves. If you want cookie cutter, hey, guess what? We're not for you at all.
Right. Yeah, that's good stuff. And then, so what are you seeing? Like, so with video, are you getting your clients to do more stuff like this with live stream and things like that?
We push that. They're still very nervous. We still, either if they're regional or close, we go. Otherwise, we write a script. We come up with a concept, an idea outside the box, and we send it to them, and we ask them to send the video to us. We put it together, and then we write the content and we distribute it that way. And that seems to have worked really well, because as you know, in our business, you have to be able to have the option to scale. There's nothing like the one-on-one. Nothing's ever going to beat that, but we do have to have options, and we do have clients outside of the area as well. And that's how it works. Communication.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. It's like we've hit close to, and I think exceeded about 500 streams of some nature per year.
Oh, it's like, man, that is amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, that's Jackson, that team back there. So when he was looking serious, it's probably because he's thinking about the other 2 that have to go on at the same time this is going on.
Well, I actually thought Kate was going to be on here too. So I'm glad it's an intimate interview with just Dean. But I was hoping I would get an opportunity to talk and pick their brains too. But I know they don't have
At
time for me.
At the end, we bring them on, so we get that feedback. Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah. So we get on there as well. So so you also used a leveraged social media, I must say. You're a new elected alderman of Ward 2 in Carterville, Illinois.
Yes, the people elected this. Yes.
So do you walk around the
the community?
Yeah, the community with that?
So funny story. When I ran, when you really know about branding, you understand what you're getting into, and not everybody, contrary to what people think, not everybody knows me in our community. So I didn't want the first impression to be of a guy in a suit, because I thought to myself, what if I walked up and I didn't know this person and they were introducing themselves and saying they were running for city council? I would not take them seriously at all. So I really balanced out and toned down the suits during that period. But when I went door to door, the number one question was, where's your suit?
Oh my God.
So
your
yeah,
personal brand in play, right?
Yeah. And yeah, did my personal branding go into that? Yes. But it was other avenues that I looked at, to just door to door, having meetups, using Facebook events to create meetups for people. And then honestly, the day of, I was within limits, but I just stood out on the corner where everybody had to come in. A normal suit, my patriotic tie, had my sign, and I just waved, and that was it, because I know a lot of people I didn't reach. So I walked 60% of my ward, and there was about 1,600 registered voters. But I definitely used my personal branding to leverage that, and I was pleasantly surprised to be able to come in first time and win by 32 votes. I'll take it. So,
how many people are in the town? Or in the
we are right at about 5,500.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and we're kind of a Southern Illinois. All the towns are real close together, so we're close to Carbondale and Marion, some other towns. So, and it's a wonderful community. I've only been here 10 years, and my family, my daughter and my wife and I, we love it. My business is here. And my daughter goes to school, so we have an invested interest in the community, and I want to continue to do that. And I'm pushing them to leverage social media. I'm probably one of the most open aldermen they've ever had with posting, and I'm sure it makes the mayor a little nervous. But I told him, I said, hey, if it makes you too nervous, just call me and we'll talk. But I believe in transparency and communication, and right now, what better way to do that than with social media?
Yeah, you're forcing those other politicians to step up their game, is what you're doing.
Whoa. I got to stop you right there. Not a politician.
Right. You're a community leader. Servant. Yeah.
Servant leadership. I believe 100% in servant leadership.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. That was a good correction. So what about favorite tools that you use?
And I try not to plug anything, but I like to share what we use and what we've had really good use with in my team. And we've gone from where we've used Hootsuite to Nuvi, and now we use Agora Pulse. We're really happy with our content, our scheduling, the options that we have in Agora Pulse, the reporting. For our clients that we go after, that is a perfect medium. Tech support's been great. I wish I could say they're based out of France. I wish I could tell you that my year or two that I had of French in high school paid off, but it absolutely did not. I can pick up some words, but it's absolutely horrible. We'd use that. We use Canva. I'm trying to think of some other things that we do. We just try to, I guess those are the two biggest ones. Oh, and the business wouldn't be the business if we use Google Business Docs. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
So everything is there. We get our clients. We keep everything in there. My goal was, when we create this business, if something happened to me or if a building burnt down, could the business still go forward? And it absolutely can. And that's because we're 100% cloud-based. So we do have an office, but it's cloud-based.
Yeah, same here.
What about you? Do you have some tools that you guys use?
Yeah, we use Social Report. We're looking at, it's funny you said France. We're looking at a product out of Romania. It was a guest on our show that we had a few weeks ago. a great looking product, and it's progressing fast, called Plantable. So we're looking at dipping our toe in the water with that. And then, like you, Canva, Jackson and his team, we have a whole team that uses the Adobe suite of products, but that's above my pay grade, so I really don't dabble in that area.
Our intern Sam, he's using that right now. So.
Yeah.
And it does
a lot of power, but you got to have a lot of knowledge to wield those tools.
Oh my gosh, you do. And then of course you probably go into business mode because everything is, time, expense, so if you're going to do that, then, for clients, that means that it has to be profitable.
Well, I know Jackson's backup is listening in, Alex, but I asked him, he said, I need a proposal for this, even if it's internal, it's like, how many hours is that going to take? So.
And you better have a craft beer before you get that proposal and read it.
Oh my God. Right. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of video tools that I know they use. I still use Camtasia when I'm building courses and things.
Really?
Yeah. I still use Camtasia. I still like that. For me, it's, it's like, I think it's like anything, you get used to a certain tool and you just adapt to that tool.
Do you do any captioning? Do you have any captioning software?
Well, I think, I know Kate and Jackson use some captioning software, so we'll ask her when she jumps back on. And then sort of last but not least is, who are some of the people that you follow and tune into so that you can continue to learn in your knowledge, some favorite books, podcasts, whatever. Well,
I'm actually a friend from MDMC sent me The Mentor Leader by Tony Dungy. So that's next on my list to read. I read a lot of leadership and coaching books. I also I'm a big Gary Vee fan, mostly because I live vicariously through him. My personality being former military, I could totally be a Gary Vee, but it just isn't conducive for an alderman and a community person and a father of a 13-year-old. So
right, exactly.
I can't pull that off. Honestly, I don't get to follow you as much. I really like your team. I like the content that you guys put out as well. And then I guess just random podcasts. And Agora Pulse actually puts out a podcast, and they put things to the test. They test certain features, and I love that because they show the data and they talk about it. So instead of reading a blog where they just give you the results and you're like, okay, so how did you get these? They actually go through and tell you that. So those are the ones that I pretty much do. And then I just read a lot of, Social Media, Examiner, Social Business Journal.
I know it's so hard when we're looking at the news, like what's the one article we can pick? It's like, come on, really? We tried doing 2 and 3 and it's just not enough time to talk about it. So I said, let's just pick one a week and we'll figure it out. But Kate says that software is Handbrake.
Handbrake.
Yeah. It's
all right. Hey, Kate, if you're listening, can you put that in one of the notes, or so I can go back and look? Because I'll go back and if anybody had questions or anything, but I'll go back in and I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, she's jumping on here with us next. We're going to bring her in and sort of get some feedback on what she heard, because they're tweeting and following in the background there. So, Kate, why don't you come back on, and then we have a couple of winners too in our. So we'll give those winners' names out here in a few minutes. But Kate, what did you hear?
So something that Tom doesn't know about me, but some of our listeners probably do now, is that I did radio in South Georgia for years before I came, and that's where I kind of got bit by the marketing bug. But what is so interesting is hearing you talk about, it was a small town in Georgia, and hearing you talk about your experiences with being in like a smaller town in Illinois, because we're so deep in it in Chicago and working with global companies. Sometimes it's just, when we meet people who aren't up on the digital marketing, it's like, there's so many companies here. Everybody's doing it. Like, how are you guys behind? And I can't even imagine like what you're dealing with. And when I was dealing with salespeople in radio in South Georgia, and how that cutthroat sales attitude that they had just didn't go far at all there, and the ROI and the client retention was so low because they didn't have that serving, what did you call it? Your servant
leadership.
Servant leadership. I mean, I freaking loved that. And I think that not just in a small town, but in bigger corporations and bigger companies, and particularly in marketing with this whole authenticity shift right now where we're seeing people not selling but serving. I just think that you hit it right on the money, and what you're doing out there is, just amazing. That town needs you so bad.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, I think it's a struggle just from a small business, small area. I would make the assumption that big global businesses would know and get it. So I think that would make me even more frustrated.
I make that assumption sometimes too. It's funny because when we're on calls, Dean sometimes is texting me like, slow it down, put it in layman's terms, because I will hear like metrics and engagement, and they're like, what?
And
you know what's helped me with that is I find a medium they're comfortable with, and then the teacher mode in me converts that. So if they're comfortable with newspaper, I kind of do everything related to that. Radio, TV, I try to change the terms and make those analogies for them.
Well, then I'm starting a fire.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, well, absolutely, because we're all teachers and we're all learners, especially in this space as things change all the time.
Absolutely.
It's funny because whenever I'll do a talk or something like that, or even a workshop, I'm like, all right, you got to go less. You got to go less. It's too much. It's too much. You got to go less.
It's actually just speaking 101. I've been where people want complete data and that's all they speak. So you have to know your audience, and I think you learn that as you go through. If you're talking to a single business owner or a marketing person, you learn. But Kate, sometimes you have to give them the big words and that because they want you to sound important. And then others are like, why are you talking over my head? You're making me feel belittled. It is hard. You have to, again, it goes back to the relationship. You're not going in there selling. You should already have established a relationship, and you go in and you have a communication, you have a dialogue, and you have a conversation. That's what it's really about.
And I say, I get them to buy, I'm not selling. So they're buying, I'm not selling.
That's right.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a couple of winners, and one of them actually chimed in here. Jimmy Z chimed in and said, Handbrake is a French app, which means, Tom, that's right up your alley. So now that you're in French mode, it works great as a video cruncher converter on many apps, and it's free. I wonder if that's the same one. Is it, Kate?
Yeah, Handbrake. Mm-hmm. That's what I like.
.fr. I can't tell these extensions.
That's the website, but it's a program that you'll download. We talked about it before on Influence Factory. I'll make sure we put it in the show notes and
thank you.
In Business Influencer Alliance. But to me, it's the easiest one. If I can figure it out and then teach my interns and my content writers and the production team, anybody can do it.
How much time do you spend on it for per hour or per whatever? Like how much do you have to go back in and spend on it to correct things?
It just depends on the quality. One thing I will say is that I go through YouTube, and so it uses YouTube's automatic captions.
Oh.
What really helps me with is to kick that last bit of the Georgia accent, because the clearer you speak, the better it makes the subtitles for you, and the least you have to clean it up.
Man, own that Georgia accent. That's not, man, come on. Come on. Don't change who you are.
It reminds you to speak clear. But if I'm doing my own video and I know exactly what I was saying, I can go through a couple minute video in less than 5 minutes. If it's Dean's video and I don't know what words are coming up next, then I actually have to listen.
Or what the hell he's saying.
Right. Yeah, clearly. It probably takes me closer to 10, but I think it's one of the best ones. And the best thing about it is that there's tons of YouTube tutorials out there on how to walk through it. So that always helps. I like to watch a video before I do things. So
that's how we all learn these days, right?
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Yeah.
So our winners this week of the Starbucks gift cards, Jimmy Z on Zoom, and then on BIA Live, Bonnie Frank.
I know Bonnie. Hey, Bonnie.
Do you know Bonnie?
I do know Bonnie from way back MDMCs. She is amazing. She's a great video person too, and I love her. And she's just a sweetheart. And she really stepped up her branding over the last year too. She's just awesome, and she's got that $1 million smile. So,
amen. And all right. And on next week's show, we have what we're calling the Madison Mashup. I'm going up for Craft. I I think craft beer, and it's
Whoa.
called
With AMA. With
craft marketing with AMA at a brewery. So there we go. That'll be Tuesday night. And
with
then
our
Wednesday.
past guest, Greg Michio.
Yeah, Greg Michio. And then we are going the next day to American Family's Dream Bank, which is this giant incubator building. And we're doing Madison Mashup episode with Greg Michio, DP Knudden, Nick Myers, and Spencer X. Smith. So
I guess my invite for the craft beer one got lost in the mail somewhere.
Dude.
Oh, that was another thing I wanted to say when you were talking about drinking, craft beer being your hobby, because that's one of mine. And so one of the things I do when I travel is I hit up a craft brewery, because then I don't have to say drinking is my hobby. It's traveling to craft breweries.
I own it. Drinking's my hobby.
Well, and Tom, whenever you want to venture up, I am officially inheriting a kegerator with some craft beer that my buddy makes, because he doesn't want to have the craft kegerator, and I do, and he's giving it to me as a gift. And then
Great friend.
And then he's teaching me how to make craft beer. So I am going to start.
I stop at that. Everybody asks me if I want to make craft beer, and the answer is absolutely no. I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it. I've judged a couple of beer down here, beer contests down here, and I'm working on getting certified as a beer judge too, so I can do that. Awesome. So yeah, you should look into that. Kate, you should look into that.
I was going to say, does that mean you drink for free? Because that sounds awesome.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
But you have to drink good and bad.
Awesome.
And I'm also looking at working on distilling my own bourbon. So anybody listening out there, if you have tips on that, or if you have some ideas, thoughts, direction, I'm starting to look into that too. So
my wife would like that. She's the hard liquor person. I'm the craft beer guy.
I'm definitely the bourbon guy. So I will and craft beer. So and throw a cigar in there. Okay, I'll be over. All right. Well, Tom, it's been a true delight. Thank you so much for being on with us. We appreciate you so much. And
thank you.
Kate, I don't know if you heard, I gave him the so far the BIA Member of the Year so far, right?
Yeah. We voted you unanimously at our last marketing meeting. It was fun.
It was
well. Then does that mean next time I'm up there, I'm eligible for a free beer?
For
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah,
You're eligible for a free beer anytime you come by.
All right, done.
And we keep it on tap here too. So whatever it is, you can have it. So
road trip.
All right. Well, listen, Tom, thank you so much. And thank you to the audience and the listeners out there. We wouldn't be here without you. And we'll see you on the next episode for episode 67, the Madison Mashup. And Kate, thank you and the team, and Jackson out there, wherever you are, and Alex for stepping in at the last minute. So thanks, everybody. And we'll see you online. Take care.
Hey.
Thank you for listening to the Influence Factory podcast. We welcome feedback and suggestions. You can provide these by visiting our website at www.myinfluencefactory.com. And if you are interested in Social Jack's 90 Days to Influence program, you can simply go to 90daystobusinessinfluence.com and simply ask for the next steps. While our program airs regularly on Zoom webcasts and Facebook Live on Wednesdays at noon Central, we invite you to download episodes on your favorite channel: YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and who knows where else in the future. We will also provide occasional on-location live streams with special guests that we will announce in our community Facebook group, Business Influencer Alliance, as well as on all Social Jack channels. Our mission is to help you build your digital business influence with this podcast, as well as inspire, educate, and entertain those who are hungry to collaborate in a cool place with cool business professionals just like you.